switched off my Skype altogether.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
There's a bit of an echo somewhere.
Jenna.
I don't know if that's me echoing or.
Jenna, where are you?
Jenna.
Jenna.
She's not there. Have we got her muted?
Oh wow.
Well.
Jenna.
Oh, this is way cooler than Skype.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so Jenna's here. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thanks. I can't hear Jenna.
Can you see me? I can't see me. I don't seem to have a video.
I can't see you either.
I can see Jeff, Vinny, and myself.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I have my camera's on, but you can't see me.
Yeah, I can't. And I'm trying to unmute Jenna, but I like the word. I keep hearing these terrible echoes.
Yeah. Right.
I
Well.
can't unmute her. Don't understand that. Weird.
La la la.
Well, we're progressing slowly. I can see Jeff. You'll smoke. I can see Jeff. We're getting there with very slow steps.
Ah, there we are. Ah, we're there. Hello. Hey guys, we're online now. We're right there. We're there.
I still can't see you.
Someone's echoing. Is that me?
So, we are live right now. I don't know why you can't see me. I have no idea what that's about, but oh well. How's everyone doing today?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
I'm doing pretty good.
Now, so before we begin, let's try and get rid of this echo. I don't know what that echo is. What is that?
Everything else my end is switched off. I'm not signed into Skype. There's nothing else running.
What is that noise?
It sounds like a kid's toy playing. Some sort of kid's toys, I think.
Oh, okay. So Jenna's now gone on mute. So what is that noise?
I muted mine for a second to see if it was me that was echoing.
Jenna, you need to turn off your Skype, hon. Okay, well, let's just continue because I can't quite. She's not talking.
There's no response.
No response.
No response. Jenna is unresponsive.
Oh God.
Never a dull moment.
So, sex dolls. It's nothing. Yeah, I can't.
Uh-oh.
Ah. Jenna. Dinner. Yeah. Dinner.
It sounds like R2-D2.
Yes, it does. It's the sex dolls. I'll tell you, they're coming together. It's the sex robots. Can anyone else hear you? Can no one hear her?
I can hear her baby, and I can hear some music in the background.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Aha, yes, I can. That's what's going on. We've got R2-D2. Gina's been kidnapped and replaced by R2-D2.
I found that shirt online and had to have it.
Yeah, it had to happen. Yeah, turn off your Skype.
Yeah. Finally.
Ah, there you are.
One more. Three down, one to go.
Dinner. Oh, she's gone.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
You're gonna join this video call. She needs to turn off her Skype if it's running. If it's on.
She must have turned it off. The echo went away.
Yeah. Well, me and you were talking. You said I can't hear that. Hello? Hello, Jenna? No. No response. It's I can't hear Natty now either. Natty's disappearing. She's muted now.
Yeah.
It's just me and you, Jeff, on air.
Oh boy.
Holy shit. Right, wait.
Hey, I'm back.
You're back.
Ah. Welcome back.
Dude.
Gina, are you there now? I think the noise is gone. Is it gone? I can hear silence.
Hello?
Awesome. So we can get started.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get this going. Let's get this going.
So hi guys, we are here today. So there's me, Natty. I'm from Women Against Feminism. And then we have two guys who call themselves MGTOWS. I'll let them introduce themselves. Jeff, you want to start?
I'm Jeff. I live in Maine. And I've been MGTOW for a couple of years now, and Red Pill for about 7.
I am Sean. I'm from Nottinghamshire. And I don't know how long I've been Red Pill. It feels like for an eternity. I'm gay. Some people have said that's natural MGTOW. Whether it is or not is for other people to say, not me.
Okay, so can you explain before anyone asks how as a gay man how MGTOW works for you?
Oh gosh. Well, I guess I started to become very estranged from the LGBT community because of its political correctness. There's lots of feminism, not explicitly mentioned, but it's there as a thread throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt more of a closer tie to men going their own way than I did any other group. So it was. It's a complicated issue. I could probably write a book on it. It's a complicated issue.
And well, maybe that's something we can talk about, not necessarily today, but another time. But I just thought that I'd give you a chance to explain it a bit, because I don't think I've spoken to anyone else who is gay and would describe themselves as MGTOW. So
no, that's true.
I think you're unusual.
We've been accused of the few of us that are fist, and we are rare, I agree with that, of being sort of accused of being sort of like the lesbian feminists, the male version of lesbian feminists. We're accused of that. But I can tell you, no, most of my rest of female, I don't hate. No, it's very, very different.
Okay. And we do have Jinnah from Women Against Feminism as well. But for some reason, she's not talking right now, and I can't see her video. I don't know if she is there. So hopefully she'll join us in a second.
She just dropped.
Oh, wait, there she is again. Jinnah, where are you? Okay, well, maybe she'll join us soon. But yeah, the reason we're here today is because I run the Women Against Feminism group on Facebook with Jinnah, and we talk a lot about MGTOW. And somebody shared an article recently, and I'll put it in the chat in a minute, which is about the emergence of sex dolls and a sex doll brothel that has been opened in Spain, in Europe. And the response in our group was quite strong. Quite a few people had a lot to say about it. A lot of people were instantly against this concept, but I thought it was a subject area that we could discuss many different angles. And I think the first question I have is, do you think that this kind of product or this kind of place, this sex doll brothel, is going to grow? What do you think? Do you think it's going to grow in popularity? Do you think it's going to spread to the US? Do you think it's going to come to the UK? Yeah?
I think so. I think it'll grow in popularity. I mean, it's not really my thing, because it just seems like it would be the ultimate definition of a dead leg. But, you know, to me, it just doesn't, it's not my style, but I imagine it's going to be huge if it manages to pass the feminist government, you know, here. I think it'll end up being something. I think people I think they would look down at people that would go there, though. You know, like people would kind of be shunned that went there.
Yeah, that's my view as well. It would be like that. It would be like that in the UK, I think. I don't know. I genuinely don't know if it's going to be popular or not. My thoughts is that it will be there. It will be there on the periphery, but I'm not so sure if a lot of people will take it up or admit to it. It's also not my cup of tea either, but I'm not against it.
Right.
I'm not
open to.
I've got no moral opinion. I've not no moral opinion against it at all, or for it. It's gone. Sorry, Jeff.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be averse to checking it out, but it's not something I'd probably admit to in public. You know. No,
same here. I was chatting to. I wanted someone else's opinion on this. So there's a chap at the local bicycle shop, and I told him I was going to do this online, and his immediate response was, "Oh, I don't think it would be his. It didn't seem to be his cup of tea either. But one thing he did mention that we did talk about that was rather funny is that if he was to buy a sex doll, he'd want it to do other things like like iPod, play music.
That would be
it was a
awesome.
very funny, it was sort of quite a funny conversation we had because it was iPod, bubble. He mentioned bubblegum dispenser. Don't ask me where the bubblegum's coming from. I didn't want to know.
It has to vibrate too. It has to vibrate.
It has to vibrate. It has to sort of. It has to be warm, so you're not shagging a corpse.
Right.
Come on, that's what everyone's thinking. If it's cold piece of, if it feels like human flesh, and it's cold, you're shagging a corpse, basically, aren't you?
Yeah.
But it doesn't move. It doesn't respond. I don't know. That'd just be weird to me.
But it's also like somebody who's paralyzed as well, even if they're warm. And if I heard one can like the tongue moves.
Really? Yeah.
Tongue
That would
moves.
be.
What? Just the tongue? Is it only the tongue moves? So it's like somebody paralyzed. It's like a paraplegic. I'm being ableist now, clearly. So we've had misogyny, and we've got a bit of ableism. I think there's 3 other to go, isn't there now? We've got racism, homophobia, and transphobia. I'm looking forward to the homophobia bit. I'll tell you that now.
Playing buzzword bingo.
Play buzzword bingo. Yes, we've got to cover them all, and we've got to cover a bit of racism as well somewhere in there. So
yeah. Yeah, it's just the whole thing to me seems kind of weird. Seems kind of like something I wouldn't do, but I could see it getting popular. I can see why people would do it.
It's a bit of fun.
It's like you said, it would be like screwing a corpse.
If it was cold and sort of cold and.
Jeff, do you talk to a lot of the MGTOW community online?
I have been recently. Like I found a lot of them fairly recently, and I get mixed reactions about it.
And what are some of the reactions? Tell us what they think.
Well, some people are all for it. Some people think it's great. They think it's gonna like replace women, and I think they're delusional. But
yeah.
They think it's like gonna render women extinct and take away their power or whatever, and that's a little excessive. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be that much of an impact. But it could turn into a cottage industry, something I could get into and make some money off of.
Well, my brother's a mechanic. My brother's a mechanic, so instead of doing cars, he can make sex robots.
Yeah. I think anybody who decides to get into that market now is smart because they're going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think I agree with you there. Yeah.
I had murmurings from Jenna.
Yes.
Murmurings. There's life.
We've got sound.
There's life. It's gone, Ken. We'll carry on regardless.
Yeah.
Keep this train on track.
I think if it really takes off in the United States, it'll be a multi-million-dollar industry. And I mean, that would be the way, if I was to look at it, that's how I would look at it is someone could make a lot of money off of this.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a sex toy. It's a sex toy. It's a sex toy at the end of the day.
It's no different than a dildo.
It's a sex toy at the end of the day. Another conversation we had with the guy at the bicycle shop is that I talked about a feminist response to this that was the sort of what's the name of the campaign? Campaign against sex robots.
Yeah.
Sex dolls. campaign against that. I spoke to him about that, and I said, "Oh well, feminists are seeing it as rape and all this business." And he said, "Well, what about dildos? What about vibrators? Aren't they a disembodied penis?"
Yeah.
Have they replaced men? Well, no, they haven't. Not really. I certainly don't think sex dolls are going to replace women. If that was the case, I mean, it also comes back to another article I read where these prostitutes were worried about them going out, were worried about business being taken away from them.
Yeah.
They were losing customers. And I'll give you my immediate instinctive response. This is uncensored.
Go on.
Uncensored from political correctness. I thought to myself, well, I'm sorry, but if you're little better than a rubber doll, if a rubber doll is competition and you're losing business to a rubber doll, then sorry, but you have to be better than a rubber doll.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, maybe the problem isn't the dolls.
It's like a man saying, it's like a man in a relationship with a woman who's got this vibrator saying, I can't compete with this vibrator. I can't compete with this disembodied lump of rubber that's shaped like a penis. You don't admit to that. Even if you feel it, you don't say something like that. You least of all, if you're a prostitute, say these rubber dolls are taking my business away. Well, I'm sorry, if a rubber doll is outperforming you.
Right. Yeah. If that's your main competition, then maybe the problem isn't the dolls.
Exactly. My response was just to laugh and go, "Is this your competition? Are you intimidated by that? Fucking hell! Sorry, but."
Well, to play devil's advocate here, I would say that because prostitution is illegal, and it depends on what aspect of it is illegal, where it is. Because I think in some countries, it's not illegal to sell sex, but it's illegal to buy sex. And in some countries, it's both. So, but either way, it's illegal almost everywhere.
It's definitely both
I see where you're going. I see where you're going.
Yeah. And I think that there is a legitimate fear because they are operating under illegal circumstances anyway. So if a lot of men are thinking, well, I kind of just want to get my dick wet, and if the warm hole is nice and warm and feels the same with a nice looking doll compared to a very stiff looking prostitute, and I'm not going to get, the chances of me being arrested is zero with the doll and like 60% or whatever with the prostitute, then maybe a lot of lazy men or a lot of risk-averse men would just choose the doll. I'm not saying that they would prefer the doll, but I'm saying that the circumstances surrounding it might make them choose the doll. Yeah.
Right. Sort of a risk.
I agree with that.
Risk reward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Gina, you're there. No, still not there.
We have R2D2 though. We have R2D2 though. We have R2D2. Don't know what R2D2 said.
And what about in the gay community? Is it any different, or is it the same? Is the thinking the same? Does it matter?
Just 1 second.
Is that? Oh, he has a phone call. So
I don't care who it is. I'm not
the
talking
only
to you.
time that sex dolls is going to have any impact whatsoever is when they turn into a kind of android, artificial intelligence type robots. Because
when they become responsive,
that's when we're in trouble.
It's when they start working.
Jeff, did you watch Sean, did you watch Humans?
Yes, I did.
On Channel 4 last year.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, in the storyline in Humans last year, there was a pretty blonde android character, because I don't know if you're aware of the show, Jeff, but humans are kind of like, they're like androids. They're a mixture between they're like robots, and they're very lifelike and like humans. They feel like humans. I think they have an aspect of artificial intelligence that was developed from the human brain, but they're not exactly like RoboCop, where they're a mixture of human and man.
There
A replica of humans.
was 6.
Yeah.
There were 6 of these Sims that had that were sentient.
Oh.
There was only 6
Oh.
that were sentient, but the program to make other Sims sentient was hidden in them somewhere in order to spread around throughout the other Sims that were out there.
Yeah, and one of the girls in the TV show, she got placed into a brothel which specialized in using her android type to be prostitutes. And in the show, she developed kind of huge dislike for being a prostitute and escaped, because the rest of the androids don't have artificial intelligence or are sentient. They're all just very like robots, whereas she suddenly developed feelings. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So, yeah, as soon as I read that article, it made me think of that show, because the show is obviously exploring the ideas that we have, where we think that this is going to happen in the future, and we're going to have all these helpers that are going to do all our hard work for us, which is what happens in that TV show. And I think if that technology was here now, and that this brothel was opening with these kind of android robots that men could have sex with, I think prostitutes would legitimately have a huge threat to their business. I mean,
that'd be a problem.
That would be a big problem.
In that scenario, absolutely. The scenario in the series, then you've got a serious threat, because even if you take away the sentient part of the storyline, even if you take away that, you've got this. You can't really compete with this android.
Right.
You can't really compete, because they will do anything. How can you compete with that? I mean, it sounds like I'm just contradicting what I'd said earlier on, but in the scenario of the series Humans, then within that story, within that level of technology, you can't compete with that. There's nothing you can do as a human.
My objection to that. My objection to that would be for different reasons. It'd be as far as the whole sentient thing, I think we would have to be real careful with that, only because if you make them too smart, then they become smarter than you, and then you have a whole nother batch of problems.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think there's only a certain we should keep them kind of dumb, just because you don't want to make something smarter than you that now it's got the upper hand, and you'll find out how to self-replicate, and I kind of sound like I'm quoting the Terminator movies, but that's not beyond the realm of possibility if you start making them too smart,
Yeah. It's a complicated issue. It's more complicated than people think, actually. This issue. There's loads of talk. There's loads of things it brings up, because it does bring up my immediate thought of, it's a rubber doll, and if you can't compete with the rubber doll, then you need to do better than that. There's that level of thinking about it, and then as Natoya mentioned, with regards to prostitution being illegal in various states of illegality, depending on what country you're in, then it does create another layer of problems if you're a prostitute. It does create another layer of problems if you're a prostitute and your business has been taken away. But I do think it depends somewhere along the lines. I do think men will want, it's back to the shagging a corpse. it's back to shagging a corpse thing, because I do think men will want to be with another, will want to be with another human. If they're gonna have, if prostitution is there, given the choice between a rubber doll and a human being, I think they will choose, given the ideal circumstances, then I think they'd choose the woman, the human.
Yeah. So I think
But I'm like this with that.
Prostitution. I'm getting the gist that both of you agree that when it comes to prostitution, men would rather pay a prostitute than or at least men who are already inclined to go and see prostitutes would rather pay a prostitute than go to a brothel with rubber dolls. And obviously there's always been a small percentage population with a fetish for this, but we're not really talking about them because they've probably always existed. We're talking about the possibility of it transferring into the marketplace for guys that use prostitution, your prostitutes. But what about your everyday guy who is either someone that finds it difficult to court and date women, and or guys who fit in the MGTOW category? What about them?
They would probably be their bread and butter customers, to be honest.
I think I would be too.
Expand a little bit.
Go on, give us it, Jeff.
They'd be, yeah, that would be those. That's like the ideal market for that sort of thing. I think other than that, I don't think it would go much further. It's the fact that if they made it cheaper than prostitution, then there'd be a serious problem, because I think a lot of it's economical. You know, last I heard, those dolls cost $7,000–8,000 to own one. You know, so until that gets considerably lower, you're not going to see it. It's more of an economical issue.
Yeah, that's high end money. That is. That's a lot of money for shag with a rubber doll. That's a lot of money. From my point of view,
as opposed to 150.
I know. I mean, Natoya, you asked about how it would be treated in the gay community. I mean, gay men. I think my response is it would be just a laugh. It would just be a laugh. I can imagine a gay couple, I mean, you know, gay men are more likely to have a threesome anyway. We're more likely to have threesomes anyway. So having a doll there like a man, it would be a laugh. It would just be another toy. It might just be another toy. And I could see a lot of heterosexual couples as well treating these dolls as just something to spice up the sex life. I could see that happening once it becomes affordable to everybody. I know from myself that I am less, now I've got the internet and there's porn online, I'm less likely to go out. less likely to go to a nightclub. I don't need to go to a nightclub when I could just get free porn on the internet. Why would I go to
so are you saying that if the cost of the dolls went down to affordable prices, people are much more likely to buy them and just store them in their homes than go to a sex doll brothel? Yeah.
Right.
I think so. Yeah. I think I can only speak for myself. I would be more comfortable buying one. I wouldn't buy one, but I would be more comfortable buying one than going to somewhere where everyone knows where you're going. Everyone knows what you're going in that certain place for. And
And who knows where those dolls have been?
And who knows where those dolls have been? You don't know. Are they washed regularly? Are they clean? You know, there's all this stuff that makes me feel a bit queasy thinking about who had them last. Yeah.
Yep.
There's that issue. I think Jeff's with me on that as well. One look on your face.
That'd be the first questions. Do you guys have sanitizer?
I'm not putting little Vinny in that. I'm not putting little Vinny.
Okay.
He's not doing that.
So if going on from what you're saying, Sean, so say the sex dolls become cheaper, and say a lot of guys decide to buy them and they store them in their homes, and at this point they still prefer having a sexual relationship with a woman or seeing a prostitute. But as they become more sedentary in their lifestyle, they might be at home on Google Hangouts a lot, or for some reason they just don't go out as much as they were. They're working hard. They want to come home and relax in the evening. Let's just take it as a given that if they are in the MGTOW category, they probably don't like going to bars and going out and talking to most women, because most of them are entitled bitches. Just being horrible there. Not all of them are, but a lot of them are. So they've already got that frame of mind.
Yeah.
And so imagine you're at home and you're one of these guys, and you've got this sex doll. You bought it maybe for a laugh. You bought it because you thought it might be fun to try it out. You never imagined that it would replace a real woman in your sex life. And then you fall into a state of being sedentary. You're quite tired. You might be slightly depressed for some reason. The weather might be crap. Some woman that you spoke to recently was horrible to you. What I'm trying to say is there are various reasons that someone could just go, you know what, I'm not going to really leave my house. I think I might just shack up with my sex doll. And then it becomes a habit. And then that becomes a lifestyle. You know,
yeah.
A lot of people can fall into these things. I'm not saying that everyone's going to do that, but I'm just saying I could see how it could turn that way, especially with the kind of lifestyles a lot of people are living these days. I mean, what do you think about my timeline of what could possibly happen with affordable sex dolls?
I can certainly see that. I mean, it's back to you have this choice between, you have prostitutes, you have a relationship, meeting a woman in a bar, and you have a sex doll, and you have those three. And among the three, the two that are the easiest are, at the moment, given how shitty relationships are becoming, the two easiest are the sex doll and the prostitute.
Yeah.
The sex doll and the prostitute. And depending on those two, how those two work out legally and all sorts of other things, probably the sex doll is going to be the easiest. You know where, if it's yours, you know where it's been, you just wash it and it sits there in the corner. You don't have to buy it dinner, you don't have to take it out. You have to, it doesn't wash it itself, which is a bit of a bummer, but you know, I'm sure men could be able to deal with that. I'm sure we'd cope. You don't have to take it out on a date. You don't have to worry about it getting pregnant. I don't think sex dolls are ever likely soon to get pregnant anytime quickly. So it's like porn is now for a lot of guys and some women, where I don't feel the need for a relationship with a guy for sex. I don't feel, whether it's me getting older but I've seen a lot of guys online with similar attitudes, that you've got porn online, it's a bit of a fuss, it's a bit of a bother, you know. It's just a lot easier.
So you're saying that because you've got porn, that's kind of like having your own private sex life anyway, your own release. Yeah. And what makes a difference between that is the relationship, the intimacy or the meaningfulness that you might get from a relationship with a real person. It's not the sex, because it's so easy to get porn, and that's a good replacement for sex.
We're onto the deeper, meaningful side to a relationship. I've had those. I've had deep and meaningful relationships. It might be because I'm 46 now. Well, I'm sort of, I don't know. Deep and meaningful relationships with people are always going to be important for men and women.
Yeah, so that brings me to...
Sorry, come on.
Well, that kind of brings me to what I was thinking about this subject, because the response by a lot of people in our Facebook group, a lot of women in there and men as well, was that the guys that would do this, the guys that would go to this kind of brothel and buy a sex doll, are basically just losers, and they probably wouldn't get laid anyway, or they wouldn't know how to have a relationship anyway. And I just want to know what you think about that response, because a lot of what MGTOWs talk about online is how having a relationship with women, or the women that they want to have relationships with, is just incredibly difficult these days. And also we have the whole legal scenario where there are so many things stacked against them, that if they do have a successful relationship with a woman, if for some reason it goes wrong and she becomes spiteful, she can use a number of things against him legally. So, you know, there's that is what a MGTOW is. That's what they're concerned about. But a lot of them just talk about how it's just really difficult as well these days, it seems, to have a normal, meaningful relationship, for various other reasons, such as, you know, women being told that they're basically right all the time, and not to be questioned and not to be held accountable as we'd like them to be. This is partly my opinion, what I'm saying, but, you know, if that's the view of a lot of MGTOW guys, and they're sitting there thinking, okay, well, I'm not really going to get a meaningful relationship with women anyway, and at the moment I'm being a bit of a player and I'm having women just for sex, and there's suddenly a viable alternative such as a warm sex doll, not a cold one, if you get my drift, turns up, then you know what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah. You know, I think the people that would say that they're losers and things like that are just driving them right into it. You know, they're every time they do it, they're just driving more and more and more of them into it. And by trying to shame these guys into not doing it, they're just making it worse, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
They think it's going to have effect A, but it's really having the opposite effect.
It's a pretty poor reaction as well. It's a pretty poor reaction as well. If someone is deciding to, if you're going off with a sex doll instead of a woman, putting it crudely, and the response to that, oh, you're a loser if you choose the sex doll, then that's not exactly, you're not going back to the competition side, you're not exactly presenting a good argument for yourself, are you?
Right.
You're a loser. You're sort of going, my response, even if it was someone doing it to me, someone else, I can't see it happening with our lot. I don't know why, but say it did. So it's like, oh, you're a loser for choosing the doll, and I'd go, sorry, darling, but the doll's better than you. The doll,
Yeah.
this man which is better than you, is nicer than you, has more of a personality than you do.
Yep.
I could have a conversation. I can imagine this incredibly bitchy conversation that Gaymen are very good at. Going, I'm sorry, but the doll, I can have a decent conversation with the doll. The doll doesn't insult me. The doll doesn't insult me.
Right.
It doesn't, not rude to me. Sod off, I don't care. And I think it will wear very thin with men calling them losers for not having sex with you. It's going to wear very thin. And men are just going to say with Jeff, are just going to go, I don't care anymore. See me as a loser, don't fucking care. Stuff, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think their response, it would usually be something like, well, see, this is exactly why I prefer the doll.
Yeah. This is why we prefer the doll.
As soon as they start calling him a loser, it's like, well, now I'm definitely going to go with the doll. And, I never understood that when when I was blue pill, I would go to the bar and I would start talking to women, and if I turned one down, they would just get pissed off. And I never understood. It's like, that's not helping your cause any. Like, they'd be like, well, you're an asshole, and it's like, oh, well, that's it.
That's
you convinced
it.
me. Now I'm going home with you. Like that, you won me over by calling me an asshole. Good job.
Bye. It
Never
doesn't work.
That.
I can't. It's such a ridiculous thing when someone says that. Oh, you're a loser and all of this. Why can you not? How can you choose a doll over me? And you go, well, look at the response. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. And I don't mean physically. I mean personality-wise. Go a little deeper than the surface, darling. So don't care about your face, care about your personality.
And what do you think about the responses in the Women Against Feminism group? Because I do find there's a whole mixture of opinions in our group, and that's great, and that's why we exist, because we have discussions and we have people that from all walks of life, from all different positions. Hopefully everyone in there is a woman or a man against feminism, but we know that there are some feminists lurking, and then there are some white knights who like to comment every now and then. But it keeps it interesting, it keeps it spicy, right? But what does surprise me is when a woman in Women Against Feminism group says, oh, the MGTOW guys that use sex dolls are losers and they couldn't get laid anyway, or some kind of variation of that. I'm a woman who's against feminism and I don't agree with any of that stuff. So therefore, because I exist, this shouldn't happen, and that proves what I'm saying. And I kind of feel I understand completely where they're coming from, because I did this journey maybe 3-4 years ago. I did the journey where I've been questioning the feminism, I've been questioning the kind of cultural Marxism takeover of society for a little while, but it did take me a while to break out of the conditioning, because the entitlement that young women especially, in my opinion, have in the UK and in the Western society, it's everywhere. It's all encompassing all the time. You get people making apologies for their existence in front of you. You get people making excuses for you. Sometimes people make the right noises and then they don't follow through because you suddenly they feel sorry for you. Or I can't even think of concrete examples right now, and I could probably come up with one, but I felt like I had to go through a journey of breaking myself out of falling into an entitled existence. And I'm not saying that everyone has to go through that journey in the same way and that they are all entitled. But what I'm saying is that it's extremely easy for them to fall into being that way, even if they are a woman who sees the problems of feminism, but yet they don't seem to have the empathy level to understand the MGTOW position. And even some of them talk about men's rights activists as well, but I think most people in the group are supportive of men's rights activism. But the MGTOWS theme and concept, I think, is still questioned all the time. And I think that the response that, oh, just because I'm not like that, or I'm that one woman who, you know, who understands that the law is biased against men in family court and Violence Against Women and Girls Act and some various other examples. I understand that, but because I exist, MGTOW shouldn't exist, because there's hope out there.
Yeah.
Hope out there for all of them. Because if I exist, there must be more of me, and I agree with that, but unfortunately, I think that's a little bit too overly optimistic, because we're all humans and we all respond to stress. So 80% of the time, you as a woman against feminism could be really fair, rational. So you get a little bit emotional, but generally you have a stop switch in your brain that stops you from being irrational and acting out of, doing something stupid. But if you were put under a lot of stress and say your boyfriend does something wrong, and generally he's not like that, but he does one thing wrong one day, and you just suddenly get it into your head that that's it, he's going to be like that all the time. And then you start looking at some of these feminist articles online and start sympathizing with them again, even when you rejected them previously. So what I'm saying is that when there's a certain level of power that women have, and they can't always trust themselves to handle it, because part of the, I would say, legitimate criticism of the patriarchy, not necessarily the patriarchy theory that feminists promote, but the patriarchy as patriarchal structure where, the man was the head of the household, which is true and was true. The criticism was that men had all the power, and when you have abundant power, then it can be corrupted, because too much power is just, it comes with a lot of responsibility. And I just think that the women in the group and a lot of women I talk to in general fail to comprehend this concept that if men can't be trusted with all the power, then therefore women can't be trusted with all the power. So we have to do things to make sure that the power is either equal or no one has the power. Yeah.
Yeah. You had touched on
that is the thing that they're all missing when they respond to MGTOW in such a strong way. Yeah, go on, Jeff.
You had definitely touched on something when you had said that there, because people like you exist, that there's hope. That kind of, you definitely touched on something there. I call those people the don't stop believing crowd. Because and to me it's like those are the people that play the lottery every week and think that they're going to win. I just think they don't have a proper understanding of probability math. That's I don't know. No, go ahead.
I can certainly understand why. I can certainly empathize and understand where women being angry and upset towards MGTOW. I can understand it.
Definitely.
I can understand it. I can definitely understand it. But they're just going to have to understand it. They're just going to have to take that. They're just going to have to take that. They're just going to have to be upset about it. They are. Because the reason MGTOW exists is because feminism has made it super difficult to have a relationship, a proper relationship, a trustworthy, balanced relationship where everyone in which there's stability. it's made family life very, very difficult.
Yeah.
It's made normal existence for them. I think it's just made normal human existence very, very difficult. And whether you like MGTOW or not, this is men going, what else do men do? You know,
Yeah.
what do you expect? Men are not just going to sit back and go, oh, we're just going to take the punishment. We're just going to take all this nonsense. That's not going to happen. And individual men are not going to put up with it because they might be the one good woman, or they might be the one good woman. So how do you know? I
think the key words there are
statistics and numbers. Sorry?
I said I think the key words there are might be.
Yeah, because they just might be the one good woman, and everyone can say, a man can say, oh, I'm the one good man, or I'm the one good woman. We can all say that. We can all say we're the good guys.
Oh yeah.
Not good enough. Nowhere near. That is nowhere near good enough.
Right.
sorry to be harsh on everybody. I mean, that's me being harsh on both sides. It's nowhere near good enough to say you're the one good man or you're the one good woman. You have to come up with the goods. And it's not good enough to just say, oh, you're a loser because you've not gone, because you can't hack it with a woman. Sorry, don't care.
Yeah.
So is that the only response? If that's the only response, that's also not good enough. You have to come up with the goods.
Yeah.
You have to come up
You have
with
to
the
bring
goods.
something to the table.
Yeah.
And I think about what this percentage that I've seen online that says that most women throughout existence procreated or reproduced, and quite a large percentage of men did not.
The 80-20 rule.
Yeah. So 80% of women have been able to reproduce with 20% of men throughout existence. I thought it was something like 60-40, but I haven't got the sources for these.
I've got a feeling. I've got a feeling it's closer to 60-40, but I'm not basing that on any reasoning other than my emotional reaction to it. It just feels like
from what I've read, I think 80-20 is like the tipping point. That's where it gets really bad.
Yeah. I mean, in which case that men generally, the large percentage of men have been celibate for quite a long period of their time, have been celibates then. So this is nothing new. So MGTOW, if you want to describe, I won't describe them as MGTOW because whether they're going their own way or not, I don't know. But I've always said MGTOW is not a new phenomenon.
Well,
no, definitely not.
Not new phenomenon at all.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently. I was thinking, well, if that's true, and I think it is, that there's been a majority of women get to reproduce and not the majority of men get to reproduce. What the real percentages are, I'm not sure, but I think that's true. And if you look at the way our biology is and how our society has been structured, that you can see that quite easily. But so there's always been a percentage of MGTOW men. There's always been men that haven't been able to get laid for whatever reason, and they probably were the majority of prostitutes' business. But I do think that percentage has grown through MGTOW because of our current situation. I don't know what that could be. It could be, say 40% of men don't get to reproduce. It could become, say, I don't know, 50 to add 10% or add 20%. No, add 10% on at this present moment in time. Maybe it could be that. That might be too, I don't know, but just say it is. And I think it could grow for sure, and definitely is growing. Where am I going with this thought? So I'm just not sure that women in the past, it was acceptable not to care about these men that were, you know, not going to get laid or didn't have much success with women.
Well,
and then now suddenly there's a whole bunch of
yeah, well, in the past MGTOW would just be confirmed bachelors.
Yeah, but
would just be confirmed bachelors.
Some of them probably would have been bachelors who chose consciously to be that way and might have been players or you know, whatever reason.
I suspect,
and then I think the majority of them were just not preferable for the choosers, who are the women and their families, because if they were from society, because we did have a kind of arranged marriage system back in the day in this country and in the West. You know, the arranged marriages wasn't exclusive to the East, and the Middle East. So if women's families and women weren't choosing certain men, there's always been a percentage of men that have never got to reproduce. So, and I think what's happening now is that percentage is now being bumped up with men who are just sick and tired of the current situation, who probably would have been able to reproduce in the past, or at least could if they put up with certain things, certain risks. Now, so I think what's happening now is that women are being forced to look at these men who they could have so easily ignored in the past, and suddenly there's a bunch of men in there who they're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not a guy that I would have thought who would be a loser or a confirmed bachelor. That guy could probably find a nice wife or girlfriend if he really wanted to, or if he put up with certain things. So, you know, and I don't think women have ever had to do that. I can't think of a time or any example in history where they've had to do that. I mean,
I think that's that's correct. That's spot on, Natoya.
It's completely new to us.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of men online who are MGTOW, and I go, bloody hell, I can't conceive that they're MGTOW at all. They have everything. They literally have everything. They seem to have everything going for them as the perfect partner. And they've gone, it's not worth that. It's not worth it. The situation, it's not worth it getting into a relationship. It's so toxic nowadays. You get into one.
I don't want to sound too conceited or anything, but I've never really had a problem as far as having a girlfriend, finding a girlfriend. But that's kind of where I was at. It's too risky. It's way too risky, and the reward isn't worth the risk.
It's almost, sometimes it feels like the things have turned upside down. You know, who was it that was saying women are the gatekeepers of reproduction?
Wait a minute, guys. I want to interrupt this broadcast just for a second, because
okay,
sure, have a look on any kind of Twitter feed or news website in the UK. Well, you can as well, Jeff, but something's happening right now.
Holy shit. So what has happened?
I definitely don't have Twitter, but
oh my god, right. Westminster incident. What we know, police are treating the incident as terrorism. Car reportedly mounted pavement on Westminster Bridge and tried to mow people down. Police officers stabbed inside.
Oh my god!
Stabbed inside Parliament grounds. Alleged assailant shot by armed police. Photographs show people lying on Westminster Bridge, bleeding heavily. That's on Sky News. Wow.
Oh, Theresa May's okay. That's good. Wow, that's crazy.
On occasions the Parliament stands and looking for the House of Lords end, if you like. A police call.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Sorry, I just saw it pop up and I was like, okay, how serious is this?
No, that's fine. That's
okay.
wow.
Okay. I got my opportunity of reading the news.
Okay, so
Well, they
Okay, so
took
it was
it
only a
down,
matter
so
of time before
that's
this
good.
shit happened in the
It was
UK, all this
exactly-
mowing down people with cars.
It was only a matter of time. It was only,
Yeah.
unfortunately, if it was something, I'm not surprised by it. We've been sort of waiting for it, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a kitchen knife.
Ugh.
Unreal.
Oh, now it's not loading. I can't.
Armed police were quickly on the scene. Good.
Three coordinated attacks by multiple attackers.
Oh, got a video running now.
I don't have video. I'm looking at it on BBC.
I'm on Twitter. It's on Sky News Twitter feed. I don't know.
Wow, that's crazy. They don't have any information on who did it, on who it was.
Doesn't look like it right now.
No, it's early days. I think we probably won't find that out until I think in tomorrow when we find that out.
Jesus.
Okay, well, let's get back to our conversation.
Let's as serious it is. Let's
Oh,
be focused and business-like as serious as it is. The show must go on.
Yeah. Where were we?
Not now for being completely heartless.
I've forgotten, actually.
I've completely forgotten where my thread was. Oh yes, about women being the gatekeepers of reproduction and deciding which men they choose. That.
Yeah, I don't remember who said that.
I don't know. Anyway, someone said it. It's been out there a while. I've always been. The part of me has always been slightly skeptical that that was 100% like that. There is logic in that.
We used to have arranged marriages.
What was that? Sorry, Natty.
We used to have arranged marriages in the West, as well as they still exist in Asia, but we did used to have them. Maybe not as formal as other places might have them, other cultures.
Yeah.
But we did used to have them. In the Catholic Church, they used to do that. And so I'm not saying that the woman in those cases didn't have any input at all, because she probably still did.
Yeah.
But at least it wasn't completely her choice. But certainly in the last.
Yeah, that's my thing as well.
Since the emergence of what they call courtly love.
Yeah. Right?
Because, as I was saying, marriage was more of a contract between two families than about love between two people. Since that, it's become more and more and more about the woman's choice. Yeah. I would say more so with every generation, really. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that. It just reminds recent with the whole eligible men, let's say, or perfect sort of the eligible man that would have otherwise got married going MGTOW. Things are. It feels that things are shifting slightly to become a bit more complicated. There's guys out there that you wouldn't have even thought of not marrying. It would have been the first off the shelf. It would have been the first off the shelf. They were the first to go. Are now a lot of some of them. I don't know what percentage, but some of these men have gone. You know what? No, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. So it's put a. It feels like it's put a. Well, I don't know which one of you said this. My brain's going. My brain's gone. It was just the incident that just happened. It's an unusual situation. It feels like a very unusual situation we're in, and that doesn't feel like that's happened before, or at least not very often. we have eligible men that would have otherwise been perfect marriage material are now not getting married. Plus the divorce rates as well. It's not just people not getting married, but the divorce rates as well are increasing as well. So it's not just that people are not that men going MGTOW and some women not deciding to get married, but it's also marriage itself is also falling apart quicker. It's like we don't have the stamina. It's like we don't have the stamina, or possibly more the will and the understanding of each other, that it's more than just the courtly love, that it's more than just the infatuation of love, that it's actually more, that it's a contract as well.
I think, yeah, and I think a lot of it is the way that married people are portrayed on TV, you know, like on sitcoms and stuff. I know definitely here in America, like it's pretty much drilled into your head that the husband's a bumbling idiot, and you know, his wife is super wife that comes in and just fixes everything all the time, and his kids talk to him like he's a complete loser. And you know, guys I think are looking at that and saying, I don't want no part of that.
No, you would no man in his right mind would want to be that, would want to be a part of that. No way. And no man in his right mind is going to be one part of that. Certainly if they've not, certainly if they've got everything.
I think with these sex dolls, I think the real litmus test is going to be how it fares in Japan, honestly, because Japan is like, right now it's pretty much the MGTOW capital of the world. You know, as far as the amount of people that are actually doing it. And I think if it takes off there, it's going to take off everywhere else. That's going to be like the best indicator.
Do you guys
going back to that?
You know anyone in Japan? Because I really don't. I'd really like to talk to someone about the situation there.
I would as well. I really want to get more. I know very little. I know very few. I've got a couple of Tibetan associates in India. They're not Japanese, but I know. I think one's Nepal. I think no, they're both Nepalese. I think, but I know nothing. I really would like a more broader perspective on this whole phenomena. I'm
on a bunch of MGTOW channels. I'll ask around.
Yeah, ask around. I'll post something as well. I'll sort of be asking more questions, or just where people are from, and what they think about this, what their take is. I do think as many voices on this as possible, the better. As many different voices that we can have, and different perspectives on it, and we can get a clearer picture. Then we can get a clearer picture of what's going on, and what people's views are.
Yeah,
because I think I said it in one of our previous threads that MGTOW is not a new phenomenon. It's new. Men choosing celibacy or men choosing not to. Jeff's gone.
Nope, I'm here.
I thought, oh no,
I dipped out for a second.
He's abandoned us. It's possibly a new phenomenon. He's abandoned. Don't leave me on my own, Jeff. Don't leave me on my own.
No MGTOW left behind.
The only MGTOW left is the gay guy. Is the rare. I'm like a rare Pepe, aren't I? Really. I'm like a rare Pepe. You know, sort of. Yes. I'm just gonna own everything. Any insult they can think of, I'm just gonna own it. Go, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me.
I am gonna jump up for a second and grab a snack. I'm starving.
Okay, see you, man.
All right, so let's go back to the sex dolls thing. Do you think
Go ahead.
A sex doll, male sex dolls, could work for women and become an actual market? Like, could they actually open some kind of brothel for women?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be too much different from female sex dolls, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be as much of a backlash about it. I think it'd kind of be more of like a running joke among guys. You know, I don't think anybody would get physically angry. But
no, I can see that. Well, there's already yeah, I can see that. I can see that. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. I'm surprised there hasn't been more of a thing online about it already. I'm surprised some women and feminists have not cottoned onto that already.
yeah, you would think.
I would have thought that would be I was waiting for that immediate response from them to be that. Because there was a couple of news items about sex dolls, and sorry, no, there was one news item in particular. I have to try and find it. There was about sex dolls, and it was from a woman's perspective. It was, and it was about.
So it was negative.
Well, no, it was about the male sex, and it was about male sex dolls and women being empowered and all this sort of business. And I thought that's where it was going to go. And on that, I thought, I'm fine. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the goose is good for the gander. Go for it. Got no problem with that at all. No, go for it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a bit of fun. It's sex and fun. Someone did say that it was treating women like commodities. And I thought, well, one, it's not a woman, it's a sex doll.
Yeah.
It's not a woman.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
Doll. That almost felt like, so do you mean women are dolls then? Treating women as commodities?
So does that mean every time I watch porn on my computer, I'm objectifying my computer?
Yes, that it was rape. Did anyone read the entire article about the anti-sex bots thing, that it was rape?
I didn't see that, but that's kind of funny.
Good night. That was this Derek. That was just ridiculous.
How can you rape something that isn't alive?
I can't even be bothered to respond to that. Oh my god.
That actually sounded a lot worse than what I meant for it to sound. I just thought of that.
Well, we've already gone shagging a corpse. We've already gone down that road. So we might as well.
We were talking about that, and then I come out with that.
Oh. Corpse, is it technically rape because they've not consented and all this?
Sex dolls have lives and feelings too. Remember that. I mean,
sex dolls.
Come on.
Someone has to stand up for the rights of these dolls.
Hello, it's me and you, Jeff. We'll do it. We'll stand up for the rights of sex dolls. Sex dolls have rights. Protect this.
Okay.
Consent.
To give that comment just a tiny piece of intellectual respect, if there is anything to respect about it or to see the logic in it, because there isn't, but I will attempt to. What the feminists probably could say that could sound convincing is that a man who has sex with a sex doll is probably carrying out a rape fantasy. And that would be the only reason why he would have sex with a sex doll, is because he wants to rape someone, but because it's so hard to do and it's illegal, then the second best option would be to have sex with a sex doll. So she could probably twist it and say that, and I could see how that could sound slightly concerning. But I'm going to go back to what you've just said. Even if he was having some kind of rape fantasy, it's a fantasy.
Yes.
It's not real. It's not happening. It's a replacement for a human.
I don't know. I kind of.
So it doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't matter, isn't it? There's no victim in this. There's no victim.
No.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious where she's finding all these guys that have these bizarre rape fantasies.
Plus, yes, that's where it was. That was my next thing. It also depends on the fantasies involved, because it is just a doll lying there lifeless. You have to put more into this than you would if you're having sex with another person.
Right. Yeah, that's the major problem for me. Is the fact that it just kind of lays there.
Sort of just, you can, if you want, just sort of shag it and get on with it and go to sleep. You could do that. You could do that. You could. But after a while, you'd want to go, oh, I'm going to play with this. It's a doll after all, and dolls are meant to be played with. You'd play with it. I've never even touched one of these things. I don't know, but I'm just putting myself in that scenario. After a while, you'd get bored with that, and you'd play, and you'd think of all sorts of scenarios, and then you might think, oh, someone else getting involved might be a bit more fun if someone else got involved in this. It'd be threesome, and you can imagine all sorts of scenarios with it. And it depends on the fantasy you're having. Depends on your thoughts towards this doll. But still, there's no crime.
Yeah.
It is assuming that all the thoughts you're having are going to be rape related, which says more about them than it does. Which says more about them writing it. Does the men having sex with the doll?
It's working off the notion that all men are inherently rapists.
Yeah, that the only fantasies men have are to do with rape or something like that. Or another thing that come up in this was when I read it, this word simultaneity kept coming up, in which it was about two people having sex with one another, and because there wasn't another person involved, it was rape because there was no consent. But it's sort of, there's a lot of crap in that.
Yeah.
Like I said, just look, Notorious face is very distracting. It's distracting. You should launch that face on a poster with just that. And it was, to quote Adam, when Adam first posted this, he said, "It's just such a load of spaghetti." It's just such a load of spaghetti. It was just a lot of spaghetti with rape dotted about. If there's no consent, if there isn't a woman saying yes, then it's rape, basically. if there isn't a woman saying yes to it, then it's rape.
I guess in all fairness, though, you could say that for the other side of it too. The male sex dolls.
Men could say that. Men could say that as well. Yeah. We could all say that. Everyone could say that.
Yeah. And that is a good point about the consent issue. Is when a man and a woman are having they're doing their flirting or their courting before sex happens, does the man have to give his consent as well, or is it implied when he's asking the woman? Does the woman not need to go, right, okay, and now I've agreed to have sex with you, do you agree to have sex with me? Because he could say something like, if I wanted to have sex with you, would you have sex with me? But he's not actually saying, I want to have sex with you. He's saying, if I asked you, would you? That he's not giving his consent in that scenario, is he? I mean,
no, not really.
Do you see where I'm going?
No.
I see where you're going.
He's just kind of testing the waters. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the whole,
it's completely one-sided, absolutely ridiculous. And what I was just thinking when you were talking about where the lady the feminist who made the website against these sex dolls. So does that mean that the other day I was crossing the road and there's a building site near my house, they've cut off half the road, and there's a bit of curb that's really high up, and I can't be bothered to hoik my buggy up that curb. So I deliberately was walking down the road, in the middle of the road, to the part of the curb that has been edged down so my pram can go up it, because I've got my pram. And this car, unfortunately, just so happened to turn a corner coming down the road at the same time. So I'm in this woman's way who's driving. And I'm just sort of walking along, and I turn around thinking, oh, there's a car behind me. So I sped up a little bit, and I finally pulled onto the curb. And she looks through the window at me, and she goes like that. Yeah, she's pissed off with me because I've taken too long because I'm walking in the middle of the road and I'm not on the pavement. Now, I looked at her and I went like this. I just went, okay, whatever. Like, what did I do? Yeah. And I thought she might open the window and say something to me. Instead, she just mouthed what I thought was "fuck off" and then carried on driving. As soon as she drove off, I had thoughts in my mind that if she opened her window or got out her car and said that to my face, I had a fantasy of wanting to headbutt her because,
Understandable.
Yeah, because I, as I said, this is a stupid interaction. It's basically road rage. I was trying to cross the road without damaging my pram. She was trying to get to where she's going, and our lives collide. And therefore, we're both being reptilian-minded animals by just being rageful at each other just because we're in each other's way. Does this feminist ever have thoughts of hurting people? Does she ever have that? Has she ever had a fantasy where she sat down and thought, I fucking hate that person, I'd really like to knock them out, or whatever? Okay. Now, imagine she goes to her boxing class in the gym and takes out all those thoughts and all that rage on her opponent or her boxing bag. Is she not then assaulting that boxing bag or her opponent because she had a fantasy about it?
Yeah, well, technically speaking, by using the logic that she's used with rape, then yeah, she's assaulted. Yeah. She's committed. She's committed assaults, even though there's no victim involved.
I think that'd be like a thought crime.
Committed assault in the same way that a man has committed rape, even though there's no victim, there's no person, there's no one there.
That'd fall under like thought crime or like I think they call it microaggression.
Oh God!
Can you one of you describe what microaggression actually is? Because I mean, is it thought crime?
A social justice buzzword.
Social justice buzzword for a thought crime.
Essentially, it's like being aggressive without realizing you're being aggressive, I guess. Like kind of like when a black guy gets on a subway and a woman clutches her purse a little closer, like that would be a microaggression.
I guess. If I ask Natty where she comes from,
yeah,
and I look at Natty and I might go, oh, she doesn't look completely European. There's sort of something else in there. I already know the answer. I already know the answer to this. That's why I'm going down this. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out which other thing. See where my hands are going. Where there's something else in there. And if I ask, oh, where are you from? You don't look completely European. That would be a microaggression.
I know a lot of people in America. Like you ask somebody who they voted for in America, they'll tell you. A lot of people will tell you that's some kind of a microaggression. Like it's really off-putting for some people. Like it's not like you don't just introduce yourself. Hey, well, who'd you vote for? They're like, whoa, you know.
Yeah, we have a bit of that here as well. Although, I think being a Tory or voting for the Tories is an instant microaggression.
Yeah, that's how it is here too. Yeah. Voting for Trump. As soon as you tell somebody you voted for Trump, they. Yeah.
In the village I live, if you admit or speak, even hint that you vote Tory or voted Tory, they would probably drag you out of your house They would set fire to your house, probably. There are effigies of Margaret Thatcher still burnt to this day.
Yeah, I know. I know.
She's still a big figure of hate in it up north. Way up north.
And it's annoying because Margaret Thatcher, I actually have quite a lot of genuine respect for what she did. Or sorry, I have a lot of genuine respect and admiration for who she was and how she handled things.
Yeah.
And some of her ideas, such as more free market and some of the trade stuff, I agree with. However, she did. It's like she did one side of free market, trying to get more of a free market economy going, but then she kind of increased the other side and made it easier for corporatism to happen. So she's like a very grey character in my mind. It's like there's things I like about what she did, and there's things I dislike about what she did. So overall, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan, but for her as a person who stood up for herself and was very, very self-assured and basically didn't take much bullshit. And also, she wasn't a feminist. I like and it's so bad that I can't even say, hey, well, I have a balanced perspective about Thatcher. Right? There's things I like and things I dislike. It's for me to even hint at that, the look on people's faces is shock horror. I've committed some kind of horrible thought crime, some kind of horrible microaggression.
It's almost like akin to liking Hitler.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's very similar.
Again, there are some things that some people would say about what Hitler did, or not what Hitler did, some of his reasoning
It was an animal
that
lover.
could be understood and empathized with. Not that I am one of those people, but I'm saying that these things don't happen in a vacuum. You didn't just pop out of nowhere and just suddenly go, right, it's okay to hate Jews and anyone that's not Aryan, and everyone just sort of fell under it. There was a gradual process. There was is much more complicated than that. So it does really annoy me that response happens. And in fact, I'm going to bring it back to what we were talking about, because we've gone off on a tangent here.
We do
That's
that a
my
lot.
fault, but yeah, but it does make me think, oh, this must be what a MGTOW feels like, because like you're in the Women Against Feminism group, or you're in, and it's probably one of the most friendliest groups to MGTOWs out there. Imagine what it's like in the worst. I'm in like one of the worst Facebook groups ever, but I'm just in it purely for research purposes. It's called Mum's Private Advice Chat, and it's basically a bunch of mums in the UK. Yeah, imagine you two went in there and said, hey, I'm a MGTOW and this is kind of why I'm MGTOW. Imagine the response you would get.
Oh, I can imagine. You're a hater, you're this, you're that.
I've actually thought about I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go, continue.
I've actually thought about going on like Reddit feminism and just saying, hey, I'm a MGTOW, I'll answer any questions, just to see what would happen.
Go for it.
Just to see how much hate I would get. And of course, the people that would spew hate, I would troll relentlessly. But the people that asked me civil, honest, factual questions, I'd give them straight answers.
Yeah.
But I think it would be kind of fun sometimes to kind of step into the belly of the beast.
Gosh, I don't know.
Well, I went to exposing men's rights activist group. Or was it a page? I think it's a page rather than a group. Yeah, I went there and I said, hey, I'm a female MRA. Would you like to talk to me? Let's do a Google Hangout. And I got 2 personal attacks and insults. I did have one person have a respectful conversation with me, but you know when you're on Facebook and you say something, and then the person hasn't really read or taken in what you've said. They've just then responded. So they haven't done like a long sentence or paragraph after they've thought about their response. They've just done short paragraph, short paragraph, short paragraph, and 3 different comments. She just kept doing that to me. And then I just kept saying, are you going to do the hangout with me or not? And she ignored that and then just kept making statements and expecting me to respond to the statements. And that seems to be the default way that they communicate online. And also having spoken to feminists in person recently at that debate and been interviewed with you recently, they kind of do that in person as well. They'll try to get away with not answering questions directly. They're kind of like politicians, in fact.
They dance around the question. Yeah.
Yes, or they completely subvert it into something else by comparing it to something else even more controversial, such as racism or classism or something.
Well, it's almost like they look at you and they're not exactly talking. I'll start again. Sorry, I fucked my communications up. I'll start again. It's almost like they're not exactly talking to you, but the person they think you are.
Yeah. Yeah, and as soon as you don't confirm that you're that person, then they don't.
They desperately try to pin you down into a hole of, oh, you must hate women because you've said you're MGTOW. Because you don't want a relationship with a woman or a long-term relationship with one, or because you have, in my case, another series of complicated issues. You're sort of estranged from the LGBT, and you're sort of slightly homeless. There's issues of I feel closer connected to MGTOW than any other group, to be honest with you. Because you're that, you go, oh, therefore you must hate women, and you go, you're talking to someone else. You're not talking to me at all. You're talking to a character you've invented. You're talking to a character you've invented that don't exist.
Yeah. I think the way feminists view female MRAs is reprehensible, personally.
Oh
like, it's reminiscent to me of the way that, like, black people treat black Republicans in America. Like, just, you can see it when they look at them. It's like utter contempt. Like, you're a sellout. You know, it's awful. It's like, I can't understand.
I do feel very protective. My white knight comes out very much so with female MRAs. I really feel very protective.
My inner blue pill white knight that I try to suppress.
Yeah, my inner white knight. I do think we criticize white knights and everything, but I do think there's a large part of men that is very, very. There's a bit of biology in there. I think.
Oh, totally.
It's a lot of biology. I don't think we should just immediately put white knightness into the bin completely. Because I do feel very protective, particularly of female MRAs that go through a hell of a lot.
My usual response is, it's like, oh my God, a female with independent thought, that must scare the shit out of you as a feminist, you know?
If a woman that thinks for herself, blimey, that must really scare the shit out of you.
Right.
I had an argument, an argument with a friend of mine that I had in the middle of Nottingham in public. Walking down the street, massive argument, and it was about all the scary issues that no one wants to talk about, and it was in public in Nottingham. And it was about consent, and a mutual acquaintance of ours. She went to a nightclub. She picked someone up. She went back and she went back to his place and said, "Can I have a shower?" She picked this guy up at a nightclub. She went back to his place and said, "Can I have a shower?" And then something happened, and then And then she came back to me and said, I think I've been raped. And I said, what precisely did you do? What did you do? She said, well, I went to a nightclub. This guy picked me up and I went back to his place. You went back to his place? One. And you said you want, and then you said, do you want to, then you asked, can I have a shower?
Yeah.
And I said,
Well, to me,
go on,
to
Jeff.
me, as soon as they say, I think, what's
What was
that?
that?
Did they not have sex?
I think some shenanigans, some sex did happen. Some sex did happen. And she came back to me and says, I think I've been raped. And I went,
To me, that's the key. She said, I think. And to me, it's like, that's not exactly something you
that was
don't
my
know. Like, you
I said,
either were or you weren't.
good enough. I said something like that. You think you have to do more than, you have to do better than I think.
Right.
If you're not
usually,
sure,
like,
you
if
probably haven't. What,
somebody
you
that's
had
gone
a
through
shower,
that,
you wanted a
there's no
shower.
doubt. Yeah.
And anyway, this argument with this male feminist ex-friend of mine, and I told him this story, and he says, "Oh my God, she was raped." And I said, "Well, there's a lot of assumptions there, mate. There's lots of assumptions.
That's a really gray area. Yeah.
It's a massive grey area." And I said, "I am giving this person agency. You make a choice. If this was two," and I use the analogy, if this was two gay men, if this was man picking another man up and going back to his place, if I was unsure about what was going to happen, I wouldn't go back with him. I wouldn't go back with him. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I have a rule. If I ever go on dates, and that's if she has more than 2 drinks, nothing happens.
Wow.
You know, 2 drinks, nothing happens. And even if they're telling me they want me to go home with them, it's no. You've had alcohol. I'm
You know
not.
what? The thought that just came into my mind is that if I had met you and gone out on a date with you, and you said that to me, that would have made me want to like call you the next day, and it would have made me want to go out with you again.
Yeah.
Like just that action, honestly.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Because, like I'm terrible when I drink. I've done a number of things that I shouldn't have done after drinking.
Yeah.
In fact, I've probably slept with way too many people after drinking. So anyone that sort of say that to me, I'm like, oh yeah, you can see how fucking like bad how much bad impulse control I've got. Thanks for recognizing that. Even though it's my responsibility, I still appreciate the fact that you.
It shows care, doesn't it?
Have that rule. It's great.
I like it
now,
too. It shows care.
In fact, in a weird way, it would kind of make me think about why I would be so bad at controlling myself anyway, and it would probably have the effect of making me more responsible.
If I'm out at the bar and I'm like actually looking to like bring a girl home, I won't drink because I get really obnoxious when I'm drunk, and it doesn't help.
Oh, I never used to drink.
Yeah.
I never used to drink when I was doing that either. When I used to go out, I didn't used to drink very often.
Why don't you? I'm going to bribe my baby with some licorice. 1 second.
Great bribery.
Oh, I'm sorry, puppy.
Oh, hello, Mia. Hello. Ooh, what's that?
Ooh. Oh, so someone on the live chat asked us the question. They said, hang on, let me just have a look again. They said, why are you against feminism and why now? Now, I don't know if that's to one person, but maybe we should all answer it because they've asked.
Okay, fair enough.
Who wants to go first?
That is a very long answer. Why am I against feminism? Wow. Where do I
Now.
begin?
Yeah, exactly.
Why this period of time in your life? Well, try and summarize it. Maybe I'll summarize it and give you a chance to think of your answer. I'm against feminism because I disagree with the foundational philosophy that they base their ideology on, which is the patriarchy theory. Patriarchy theory says that men have oppressed women throughout millennia, and it's more or less always been that way. And it's because men want power over women. I disagree with that. I think it's because men and women are different and they have different biological roles, and so society responded to biology, to the limitations that each sex has. And that's kind of why things worked out the way they did. So, you know, for example, in the past, women weren't educated as much as men because women were having lots of children all the time and they weren't out there making a living as much as the man was, because even though some of them were, but not the main breadwinner. So why on earth would you spend all your time educating a woman who's not going to be working if she's going to be looking after children, not working in the sense of working it out there in the world rather than caring for children and caring for family members? Especially if people are going to die young. I mean, think about the ages that poor people died back in the medieval times. That's just one example. There's many other examples as to why our biology just caused society to be set up the way it was. And I do think that some sexist attitudes did result as that. And I do think that some of it fed into men and women's egos. And it meant that when society did change, when we got technological advancements and we got all these kind of new machines that could do washing for us and things like that, that gave us more free time, it did mean that the attitudes that we had, that we developed for good practical reasons in the past, didn't necessarily need to be as strict anymore and could become more flexible. I think that is a reasonable critique of how things have changed and how societies needed to change to become more egalitarian. But I don't think we needed feminism to tell us that men love having power over women to do that. Also, as many people who have been around since the birth of second wave feminism have rightly informed us, feminism was just another way of introducing socialism into our society. Through cultural Marxism, because the Marxists knew that they lost the argument because everyone liked capitalism so much, because capitalism is basically the best way of providing opportunities for everyone to do well in society. So as soon as they realized that, they just changed the focus and made it about men and women rather than about class, and it's kind of been succeeding. So that's my answer.
Mine was, I think mine's very similar. Certainly patriarchy, certainly the patriarchy theory argument that you've just come up with was one of the main reasons why I'm against feminism. The other one for me was the women are victims, men are perpetrators narrative that seems to be quite dominant in feminism as well. That to put it simply, that just pissed me off. It just seriously pisses me off. Seriously, because it manages to be misogynistic and misandrist in the same breath. It does. So because you're a woman, therefore you're a victim of this whole set of shit. That most of the cases it's circumstances, or in the past it was just poverty. You're not oppressed because you're not oppressed by men, you're oppressed by poverty. And you're oppressed by poverty. And you're in a situation in which You have several children that need looking after by a person. There's no one else going to look after them. There is no childcare. There's no electricity. There's no heating. You are their life support.
Yeah.
You've got to be there. You don't have a choice. You've got to be there. He has to work because he's got to work. Someone's got to bring the money in. So he has to have an education. He's got to have an education in order to get a good job. She's reliant on him getting an education. And she's also thinking about her daughters. Sorry. She's also thinking about her daughter's future welfare by going, you know, make sure you pick a good man. Make sure you get a man who's with a viable career, who's able to bring home some money, who's able to bring some money in, so to support you, because you know what, you're going to have kids to look after. You have a household to run, and the household, the foundation of community is the household, and that's what we've lost today, is community. You'd have sort of the stereotype of, I don't mean stereotype in a bad way either, of sort of women gossiping over the garden fence. And that's good. That was the foundation of community, was women gossiping over the garden fence, to put it simply. And we've lost that now, because everyone is using the gold standard of work and men. And that's the gold standards, is everyone is competing with one another because everyone wants to be equal. Everyone wants to be the same.
Yeah, I think for me it's just riddled with contradiction. I stopped, and there was a while where I kind of hit the reset button as far as what my views were, because I mean, I was a Democrat for a long time. I was definitely in the pro-feminist camp, and I started really listening to everything, and really part of that was listening to like Anita Sarkeesian and suffering through a Lacey Green video and getting to the end of that and saying, this is just contradiction after contradiction, and it makes absolutely no sense. And they speak this like Klingon language that I can't understand about privilege and intersectionality and all of this. It's like, it just makes no sense to me. It's like they try to divide everybody, and they say they're the force of unity, but they like put people in boxes here and here and here, and they pit them against each other, and it's awful.
Oh yeah, and to take it from what I've said before, to take it to a deeper level, I just think it's just a way of those the powers that be. It's a way of controlling the masses. Keep the working class men down, eradicate the middle class, make women distrust their men and trust the government more. I mean, how far do you want to go into that kind of conversation? I don't know if we have time for that now, but like, it's like, it's telling, and it's a bunch of lies as well. I mean, working class women have always worked more outside the home than say upper class women. It was always both the man and the woman together working for the family, but it just so happened that the man probably did something that brought in more money just because he had more time to do it, and he was probably better at it. And men are more capable in a lot of ways than women for different things. It's just, it's just
division of labor,
they
isn't
just
it?
took advantage of our natural gynocentric tendencies, and just expanded on them and elaborated it all, and now it's just got to a point where MGTOW is happening.
Yes, I do think MGTOW is inevitable, given MGTOW was probably the natural response to feminism. MRA is men's rights advocacy, is also a response to it, but I think MGTOW feels more men themselves going, you know what, no, we want. It's also, there are very few male-only spaces in society. There aren't any.
Yeah.
Where men can go and just be around other guys on their own. And that's gone. That's gone. So for me, MGTOW is men create. Okay, we need this space. We're going to create it online. And I think some of us have gone, yes, we're not going to be liked. This is going to be not liked, because look what feminism's response to any men getting together on their own is, oh, what are they doing? These nasty, nasty, evil men's. We can't allow men talking to one another on their own, talking about what men talk about. We have to have there has to be a woman in there somewhere getting involved and making sure they're not doing anything really, really nasty.
Okay, and the guy the person that asked the question, they said, why now? Why? I'm guessing when they say why now, I'm guessing they think, why are you against feminism now at this point of your life?
Oh, I think I've always been against it. You know, inherently, I've always been against it. I may have read it and agreed with some of it, but I think I've always kind of gone my own way, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a recent thing.
Yeah, it's not that recent it's not recent for me either. I've always hated feminism. I've always mistrusted it. But I've not always, but the reason now is that I've not always had a someone else coming up with the same reasons as me. I've not always had someone else saying, oh, it's okay not to like it because of this reason and this reason. On my own, I was unable to articulate why I hated it. It's very difficult on your own. I think a person on their own, for me on my own, it was not easy to articulate why I hated this. I had my own reasons, but I always thought my own reasons are not really good enough. You need a community. You need someone to talk, bounce ideas off, and someone else's ideas. And you learn from someone else's ideas of why they don't like it. I've learned from Karen McFly why she doesn't why she's anti-feminism, and Latoya as well, and Jeff, why they are. And you go, oh, that reflects, some of those reasons reflect on why I don't like it. And you sort of, okay, well, that makes sense to me. And then you learn another reason for why feminism, why you're anti-feminist. And sometimes you have arguments with feminists online. The internet, I think, as well. This couldn't have existed without the internet. Sometimes you have arguments with feminists online that you learn things from. And some of them are not exactly arguments. Some of them start off as arguments and end up in a debate, and you might end up quite friendly with them. And you go, yeah, this adds another ingredient to why I really, really don't think feminism is such a bad idea. Is a bad idea. It adds to the thoughts of why I think it's a bad idea.
I think that the reason why I am against feminism now, so I think when I was at university, I did media and cultural studies and journalism, which is kind of like cultural Marxism 101. So I learned a lot about feminism. I had to write essays about it. I had to study the classic books, because we had a few gender orientated modules or aspects to our modules. And prior to going to university, I always thought that feminism was about equal rights, because that was the narrative that was being fed to me by everyone and by the media. But I actually realized quite quickly that it wasn't about that. I could just smell the bullshit. I remember doing a film studies class, and we were talking about male gaze theory. And then I kept thinking to myself, what, all the women I know They like dressing sexy. They like men viewing them in a certain way.
Yes.
They actively encourage it.
Yeah.
They might, try and play these hard to get games and things, but that's all part of the game. They are going out to impress men and to show other women that they are sexier than the other women, to compete with women. It's all about intersex competition. And before I even knew what that term was, I thought it was. I learned this theory in my film studies class. I thought, this is bullshit.
Actually, the first time I heard that word was off you. Intersex competition was by you, Natoya.
Oh, okay. Well,
I watched a video
that was what it was. Before I even knew about evolutionary biology or anything to do with that, I would just use my observations in my own life. Now, sometimes anecdotal experience isn't that useful, but I don't know. Sometimes you combine it with common sense and you combine it with your gut feeling and intuition, and it's more than likely correct. I don't know, but so I did this degree, and I came out of it still saying, yeah, I support feminism, but not describing myself as a feminist. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine from uni, and I said to him, I'm an equalist, because I couldn't think of any other term. I guess I was a negatarian. And it took me a few years, because I had a very hard time in my life. I was quite depressed, and it was the recession, and I had quite a few personal problems with my family. And it just caused me to turn into a bit of a hermit and stay in my house for a while, and I just became extremely dissatisfied with life. And I just realized that it was just all bullshit. And I had this huge existential crisis, and it made me go back and study it again. It made me talk to people. It made me do all sorts of things, really. And I came out of it going, holy shit, like, I can't not do something about this now. I feel compelled to at least find other people that think like me, or help promote it in some way, help promote the truth in some way. And I think underneath all of it, before I even ventured into this subject, I was always someone that was into talking about things in a truthful manner anyway. I was always more honest than a lot of people I knew, and that got me in trouble quite a lot, especially with women, because they were all like not direct in their groups of friends and stuff. I used to get into trouble all the time, and I just felt like an outsider. And I think this feeling of knowing something and other people don't seem to know, or having your eyes open, taking the red pill basically, is something that everyone in this community has in common, no matter where they are with it. So I have people that are MGTOWs and MRAs and anti-feminists and all sorts of things related to that. And I just think they've all gone through some kind of experience, some kind of process of varying levels, where a layer of the onion of society has been peeled back, and they've seen it and they go, oh shit, I can't really unsee it now. Yeah, and I also think that I realised that my degree was bullshit. I realised that society kept me quite entitled, and I was keeping myself quite entitled, and I really didn't like it, but I was kind of trying to fight it. And then at the same time, I was trying to take responsibility for a lot of things. And I used to have lots of conversations with people I knew. I would be like, look, I'm doing this to myself and I'm trying to not do it. And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. You had a shit childhood, and so therefore it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I just kept thinking to myself, why are these people giving me a free pass all the time? I don't want a free pass. I want someone to hold me accountable. I want to hold myself accountable. But one of the ways that I hold myself accountable is by other people doing it too. So I think I came to the realization that I was on my own. Like, if I wanted to be someone that was accountable as a woman, a young woman in society, it was only me that was going to do it, because all the men were busy either trying to have sex with me or not, or they just didn't like, and all my female friends were all busy not realizing. I don't know how to put this, but I just realized that I was on my own. I don't really know how else to put it, and so I think that's why I'm now against feminism, and try to do my best now to speak out against it, and to see if there are other people out there, and to tell them that they're not alone if they're there, basically. Sorry, that was a long diatribe, but
another thing that
yeah.
another thing that came up for me repeatedly was a specific issue, and how a lot of people reacted to it was boys underachieving in schools and a decreasing amount of men attending university, and people's reaction to that, and some of my friends' reaction to that was, oh, it's just lazy, they're just lazy and not trying hard enough. And the callousness in the media, and how it was just no one really gave a shit about, no one really gives the slow realization that no one gives a shit about this. When I say no one, I mean the majority of people don't give a shit about it. And I felt there's a visceral anger in me.
Red pill rage.
Visceral, and I'm not a father, and I'm not going to be a father, but it's the father in me going, shut the F up. You will care for them. You will love them. I'm gonna make you care for them. You're a heartless cunt, you're a heartless dick. Because men, I don't leave men out in this either. I don't leave them out in it. If I'm gonna be accused of anything, then I'm gonna be a misogynist and a misandrist equally. I'm gonna hate everyone equally. Because there's some of them could be just as much to blame. It's supposed to anyway, so it's just from this visceral rage. How can you not care? How can you not care about them? When in the 70s, when girls were underachieving, there was talks in Houses of Parliament. There was an entire campaign. We've got to increase girls' education and all this. But now it's the other way around. What response is there? Nothing.
I still remember.
It's because they're not like girls.
I still remember the day I found the red pill and found that whole. I stumbled on it actually by accident. I was blue pill. I lived like I was married. I lived that lifestyle, and my at the time wife she was cheating on me with a friend, made more money, whatever. Well, anyway, so that happened, and I remember going on Google on my phone and looking up "she left me for money." You know, just like, I want to see if I'm the only one, you know. And as soon as I did, the word hypergamy popped up on Wikipedia. And I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. I'm going to check it out. And as I did, I started reading, and then like articles started popping up from this website called Return of Kings. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yes.
But they're PUAs. They're like the ones that try to exploit the game.
Yeah.
And I started reading it, and I was like, wow, what is this red pill thing? There's something to it. And I started looking that up, and it was like, you know, it blew my mind. And it was like, this is amazing. Like, why doesn't everybody know about this? And it was just off from there. And I found MGTOW and started listening to that. It just made sense.
Mine was a slow burn. I do remember Google. I do remember sitting in front of my computer And just the thought of typing in the search engine men's rights was I actually felt rather nervous even just typing it in. And that was an interesting introspection into my own thoughts, my own mind about, oh, this is why am I thinking like this? What's so wrong about that? And that was when I realized, oh, there's a bit of society's, now looking back, it's, well, society's indoctrinated you into not to care, into not looking, into finding that frightening, into finding looking at men's rights frightening. The male feminist. Whoa.
That was my alarm.
Musical accompaniment, brilliant. It's turned into a musical. And yes, the male feminist I was talking about, I have sent him countless links, every conceivable. I thought I'll send him something by Christina Hoff-Sommers because she's a feminist and he's a feminist, and I've sent him countless other things. I even went, right, I'll send him something completely unrelated to anything. Also, I sent him the link to Dave Rubin, but at least he'll get somewhere in there into this thinking about things differently. And he has refused to look at any of them. He just does not want to look. And I said, will you at least try? I said to him, will you at least try to look at men's rights issues if I send you a link? He said, I'll try. And it was such a terrifying concept to him of just looking at this stuff. His reaction horrified me, to be honest with you. His reaction of how frightened he was to even look at it horrified me. I thought, you should be able to look at anything you want without being afraid of it. That's scary. I mean, he's younger than me. He's in his 30s, so he's been through the universities and arts. He's a sort of art student, so I know now what he's after finding more about what the universities are like these days. I sort of have a guess of what he's been through.
Yeah, I have a friend that is unbelievably blue pill, and every time I hang out with him, like he's a really good friend of mine. Like I love him to death, but he's just so blue pill. And every time I talk to him, he's either trying to get another girlfriend or has a girlfriend, and that's all he talks about. And like if he goes too long without having a girlfriend, you can see he starts like beating himself up and like, you know, I don't understand what's going on. I feel so worthless and stuff like that. And it's like, I've tried so many times to send him red pill stuff, and it's like, dude, you're a fucking rock. Act like one, you know. And he just, I don't think he's ready, you know.
It's about being your own man at the end of the day. It's about being your own man.
How old is he?
He's a few years younger than me, actually. He's probably 35, 36.
He's the same age group. Same age group for my mate.
Yeah.
35, 36.
Would you say that he's attractive?
He's not an ugly dude, I guess. Yeah. And he's a wicked nice guy, you know, like he's really good to whenever he's with a girl, he's always really good to her. Like he's, you know, he's a good guy. He just ends up with these women that just take giant dumps on him. And it's like it's self-defeating, you know, and then he just feels worse about himself. And it's like, man, you got to get out of this cycle. Like you're just driving yourself down. And, you know, as his friend, it's like you watch it happen and it's like, I feel like I want to do something, but you really can't, you know. He's just going to do what he's going to do. And I just kind of have to sit back and be his friend when he needs it.
It's just that he sounds like he's at peak sperm jacking age. You know?
What's that?
He's at peak sperm jacking age, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, he's already got a child, so.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's he's already been there, done that. Well, I'm just saying that he's at the age where he should be at his most attractive, right? So
You would think.
you know, yeah, you would think. That's what I'm saying. He's probably. I mean, I don't like saying this because sometimes it is a bit of a cop out, but he does probably have some mummy issues.
No. Maybe that might be the case. I don't want to get into too much detail and out him, but
yeah, I know. Especially
I don't really
same type of woman all the time. You know, and that's the thing, right? That is the thing about MGTOW is people have always had mummy or daddy issues. They've always had dysfunctional families they've come from. That's always been the case. That's always existed. Now, not only do you have the normal dysfunction of humanity to contend with, and the fact that you have to move on from your family dysfunction and try and move past it to become, you know, healthy and in ways that you might need to repair the damage that might have been done to you. Maybe, I don't. It just depends on you. But not only do you have that, now you've got the culture promoting female privilege and ignoring men's disadvantages and completely dismantling their importance in society in various ways. Not only do you have that going on, you've also got all the laws, as we mentioned before, that discriminate against men. So it's kind of like when people talk about guys in MGTOW who are like, yeah, you've probably got mummy issues, yeah, you've got this and that. It's like, yeah, probably. That's probably true. It usually is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It just makes this like so much worse. You've got like 3 or 4 other things on top of the norm. So
my response to the mummy issue, I'd love to respond to the mummy issues with the MGTOW. My response to that, I didn't get that criticism personally, but when I hear it and see it, my immediate thoughts are yes, they probably do. Are you fucking surprised by it? Don't be fucking surprised by that. Of course they bloody well do.
Yeah.
They're just stupid. Of course they got bloody mummy issues. Look at the feminist shit that we're in at the moment. If you grow up without mummy issues, that's something to point out. Oh my God, he doesn't have mummy issues. That's amazing. How did you do it?
Yeah.
I think I kind of lucked out. My mother's pretty awesome.
Well, I was looking at my mum's videos as well.
She doesn't agree with like.
I don't mean all mums, obviously. I obviously don't, but that's.
Of course.
My mother doesn't agree with like 90% of what I say, but she'll defend my right to say it until the day I die. So
I have no idea if my.
That's good.
Amazing, that is. That's amazing. I have no idea if my mum would have agreed with anything I'm saying or not. She died before I got involved in all this. She died before I got involved. I can guess. Me and my mum pretty much thought we could finish each other's sentences. We could finish each other's sentences, me and my mum could. We were very, very close. So I'm guessing she'd agree with most of what I'm saying. She'd agree with probably most of what I'm saying. If she was here now, she'd probably be here hanging around in the background wanting to join in at some point. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I certainly do have mummy issues. That's for sure. And I have no contact with my mum because she's crazy, and so you know, I have wondered whether or not I would be as into this stuff as I am if I had not had that. But I also had some daddy issues too. I had both of my parents had some issues. So like
I've got more daddy issues than mummy issues.
More mummy than daddy.
I've got more daddy issues than mummy issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I had both, but my mum was
I'm a walking contradiction. I'm a walking contradiction. I mean, technically that people would assume, no, that would mean that you're feminist, wouldn't it? And no, that doesn't mean that at all.
No, this is what I'm saying. It actually made me look at both sides of every argument all the time. It forced me to be like that from a young child because I had both of them being a certain way. So I used to kind of play the more mature role in all of it. And so I think it's that aspect of it that probably did help me to get to where I am now. And so when you talk about your friend, I don't want to infantilize him and say that he is only that way because of the way he was brought up. But it certainly has something to do with it, because once you get to 36, you need to have gotten over that shit and moved on and become a real man. And he really just hasn't. It sounds that way. So yeah, he's just basically like what Paul Elam said on his channel. He was like, you know, you don't necessarily need all like game stuff. The game stuff is helpful, but you just need to become a master of your own universe, and then the females will come. That was it.
Right.
That's all he said.
That's good advice, that is. That's good advice, that.
Yeah, your friend just sounds like he has like a void, and he wants to keep filling it with women, and women are never going to be able to fill it. He just needs to fill it with something else, which is called, you know,
My friend's
self-esteem, or this,
self-actualization.
Self-actualization. That's the right word. Yeah. Also, there is another aspect to it as well, and I think this is where women and feminists get it a bit wrong. When they talk about, oh, I'm a strong, independent woman and I don't need no one, I think probably what your friend is going through as well, correct me if I'm wrong, is he probably really wants to have a meaningful relationship, and he probably realizes that he wants it so much that he's not handling it very well. But then on the same side, he probably thinks, oh, I should be a strong man. He doesn't need this. It shouldn't affect me that much. So, you know, and he has a conflict about it. So maybe if he just admitted it to himself and said, look, I do want to have a relationship like this. This is important to me, and I shouldn't feel bad about it. If he did that, then he could probably move on. And then, ironically enough, he probably would then start to do things that would self-actualize himself.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah. Or he could just be a completely feminized in the way that he wants to be codependent on a woman, and that's unfortunate. I don't know.
It is. It's sad to watch, but I've tried, and he's just not down with it. So there's nothing I can really do at this point except just say, all right, well, don't say I didn't warn you, you know. And if bad things happen, he really doesn't come to me anymore, because I just kind of give him the I told you so, and that's pretty much the end of it.
Yeah.
And I've got to the point where I tell him, you know, it's like, well, don't come to me freaking out when everything goes to shit, when I told you everything was going to go to shit before it happened, you know.
Do you think he would use sex dolls?
I don't think he would. I think he'd be worried about what other people would think about it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't hear Vincent anymore. It's muted.
I think he's muted.
Why?
Yeah.
How do you unmute somebody?
No, he muted himself. There you go.
There you
Why
go.
did I do that? I didn't touch it. Anyway, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
All right,
I can hear you now.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we've got like 2 minutes left. So, what are your conclusions about the sex doll possibility for the future, and the connection to MGTOW?
I think it'll be successful with, I think it's like a niche market. It'll be successful with a group of people, and then that just outside of that group, it'll be something completely alien.
I'm pretty much with Jeff on this. I'm pretty much with Jeff. I think it. I'm maybe a bit more cautious that it's going to be a complete success. I think it will be a niche market. There's nothing wrong with it though. It's a bit of
no,
there's nothing wrong with it. Go for it. If you can afford one, buy one. Enjoy it. Go for it.
So I have another thought on it that I don't think I did mention it earlier, but this is what my conclusion is. I actually think there's going to be a bigger market for 40+ women to have for male sex dolls than men, because
it's an extension of the whole dildo vibrators.
Growth of divorces and lots of women that are career focused, etc. Add them all together, and as one of the YouTubers that I like to listen to, he's called Obsidian. He's so ruthless in his criticism of women. I just find him really funny. He always talks about the spinster bubble, and he does a lot of, he finds stories of, like, there was a documentary about women who are baby boomer age, so, you know, entering retirement now, and they're unmarried, they haven't got any children, or they're divorced, well, they're unmarried and they haven't got any children, and they've got no money, and they're basically spinsters, and they're all sort of realizing how they've messed up because they haven't got anyone to look after them in their old age. So I actually think there'll be a emerging market for those women rather than men. And it's going to come up. It's going to just pop up one day, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh,
dolls.
this is happening now. Oh, I think it's going to come up to surprise us." Also, the MGTOWs.
Something that Jeff mentioned about the response to this in the MGTOW, there seems to be a lot of men that are positive about it. It's possible that there will be a big rise. I don't really know, but based on those assertions of, oh, this is a brilliant idea, yeah, it might be successful for a while. I don't think it will be completely successful though. I think there was an issue. I don't know. I'm not making sense at the moment. I don't know. Who knows? We'll wait and see.
All right. Well, let's say goodbye. I think this was a success after all the technical difficulties I've had. Next time I'll be able to do it on Facebook again when I have my MacBook back. But I think what we can do is we can do it here, and it can be channeled onto Facebook Live rather than on Skype, because the format's better. And hopefully Gina can join us, or someone else from Women Against Feminism. Anyone got any ideas for next time?
Oh my God, next time. I don't know. Maybe could we something harder to talk about? Something harder, something a bit more gritty. Maybe talk about domestic violence or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, that'd be a good topic. I'm all for exploring something a little more heady.
Yeah, something heady and gritty. I always thought this was fun and light-hearted, and I didn't have much. I didn't really. I'm guilty of not knowing what to say about it. And when I read it, I went, the longer it was left, the less I had to say about it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that was my fault. So
I had actually had little idea until I started I looked it up when it was mentioned to me that this would be the topic, and it was like, oh, this ought to be interesting, and I've been kind of winging it.
Don't worry.
Thank you very much, guys.
We will get better at it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, take care, guys.
Take
Till
care.
next time.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.